Buenos días. Ah, hello. Hello. Good morning. Buenos dias. Hi, Adam. It's so nice to be with everyone again today.
Good morning, Yuvelca. How you doing this morning?
I'm great. Happy to be here with you all again. How are you?
Every day is a good day whenever you wake up, especially when I'm working out at the gym.
Nice, nice. Keeping that body moving is an amazing thing. We were made to move.
Exactly. It's a spiritual thing. And that's what a lot of people don't understand.
Well, I'm glad that you are here reminding us this morning. It's a good reminder. Hello, everyone. Nice to be with you again on this part 2. We're going to be talking again about looking back or staying back and dealing with the past. So nice to be in this space again. And thank you all for having me be in community with you. It's a pleasure.
Peace and blessing. Good morning, sister. How you doing? I didn't want to steal your name to get it wrong. It's Teresa.
Hi, how are you? Peace and blessings.
I'm blessed. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thank you for being with us. Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, Z. Ah.
Greetings, beloved.
Greetings. This is a part 2, so I would like to invite everyone to get your water, get your tea, get your coffee, if that's the time of the day that you have your coffee. Bring a pen, paper handy, but your presence is all that's needed today and your conversation.
Peace and blessing, John and Shawnee. So glad to have you on Z as the admin team.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke. Stay woke. Stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke. Stay woke. Stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together.
Buenos dias. We are here again to continue the conversation. We had an amazing conversation last week about the past. And it just brings to mind, is the past a place where you can look back and notice? Is the past a place where you look back and you get stuck? Or is the past a place that you can use that information to propel yourself forward? It is my personal opinion that there's a bias these days of let's be present and look into the future. And the past has a lot of helpful information for us. Whenever you're ready, we can jump into some of the slides we didn't get to see last week. Peace and blessings, Teresa.
You'd like me to bring up your first slide, Yuvelca?
Sure.
Okay, here it comes. One second. Okay, there we go.
See, that was in the past. So we asked the question, and this is something for you to ponder on for just a moment. Why do we hold on to the past? Just think about that for a second. We know that there's different states. It all depends on how people feel about themselves. Some people let the past have extreme power. Absolutely. Next slide, John. Why do we hold on to the past? Take a moment today to recall a time when you noticed how long it took you to let go of a particular thought, situation, person, or thing. So now we're thinking about the past and we're wondering, why do we hold on to the past? And now we're just taking a moment. Was there a situation where you actually said to yourself, wow, I was in there too long. Why did it take me that long to let it go? Or was it beneficial for you to hold on to it for a moment and let it go when you actually let it go? The lessons that you got from that were invaluable. Just notice. I see a hand raised. Teresa?
Yes, good morning, peace and blessing. I
Peace
was
and
just saying to the
blessings.
Lord, like, Lord, why can't I just let go of some relationships last night? Because I just feel like what I would like from the relationship, I'm not getting. So holding on to it, how does it help me? You know, when there's so much other beautiful people that I can connect with. I used to be very angry about it, but I'm not angry about it. I just say like, Lord, you know, help me to release it, you know. And then sometimes I just feel like it's not going nowhere. So I just adjust myself, you know, to the situation and just like, you know, especially if it makes me sad about a person that I'm able to release, then I just, you know, like I had to do that yesterday. I just had to like change my possibility. I'm in a class called Breakthrough. And they said you have many breakdowns to get the breakthrough. So I did get a breakdown from, you know, from being sad about the past. And then, you know, like changing my mindset and, you know, my breakthrough came through when I didn't stay in the past of, you know, what had happened. So I felt good. You know, I felt very proud of myself that breakthrough happened, but then the breakdown happened, but then I had a breakthrough in the midst of the breakdown and I'm complete.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that. And I just wanted to say, you know, good job for your breakthrough. It takes a moment because of how situations, people, things, experiences are registered in our bodies. We spoke about that a little bit last week. I just want to talk about it a little bit more because the chat was on fire. A lot of people wanted to know about brain spotting and, you know, the effects of trauma in the brain and the body. And with the book that I believe that many people should have in their library, The Body Keeps the Score, just helps us realize a lot of things as Black and brown folk, you know, what goes on with trauma in our brains. It rewires. And just think of it for a moment. Just think. When you're just calm in your space and something happens, how fast does it take for your brain to bring up a thought? The signals from you touching your finger to you registering that this is a feeling, something is happening. That's how quick the messages are being sent from our whole system to the brain. And that's how quick it starts working to make sense of it. So when you experience something that's negative, when you experience something that's traumatic, it changes certain parts of the brain and how it functions. It's almost like the best way that I can say it for those that are fellow New Yorkers like myself is like Grand Central Station. It's a hub. It's a hub. So many trains are coming in, some need to be rerouted, and then think about the people in the train. Who's going where, who has doctor's appointment, maybe somebody's traveling, they're preparing for surgery. Maybe somebody just got mugged in the train. You know, all these different things that are happening in that space. It's almost like what's going on between your brain and your body. And not only just one part of the brain is affected. You know, a lot of people might say, hey, you know, it's the amygdala that helps you, you know, detect and react to people, places, and things. It's that space that tells you, hey, an environment can be dangerous. But when you experience a traumatic event, something that just doesn't resonate well within your system because it's all individualized, that can alter. That's where we see in some people or some children that their decision making might be a little off. Like, don't you know that fire is hot? Why are you doing this? Or don't you know that you shouldn't walk down a dark alleyway, especially in the Bronx or New York? You know, don't you know that that's unsafe? Sometimes those connections, almost like the train lines or the rerouting, like Shawnee mentioned in her, you know, talk, the rerouting might be off. So I hope that that helps in explaining it just a little bit more on that part when we hold on to certain things. I'm ready for you, John Carl.
Yeah, we have some comments in the chat that I'd like to bring up for you. Let's see, let's go back here a bit. Our first comment came from, I can't find the first comment right now, but I'll start from what I see.
Okay.
Let's start with Adam. It all depends on how people feel about themselves. Some people let the past have extreme power over them and become a slave to it. And some people use their past to rise above and be the better version of themselves. Catherine shares that for the most part, I think we do it unconsciously.
Okay.
And Zakia said, some things need to be let go, and some things I will never let go of, and I benefit from holding on to. A good example of that is my ancestors.
Thank you for the shares. So powerful.
And we have a hand raised from Catherine. Catherine would like to verbally expand on her comment. And I see you're nodding your head. So Catherine, if you will, please come off mute and share.
John Call, good day, sir. No, not so much on what I wrote. Is I wanted to contribute to the conversation by saying that I think that when I hear the past, then automatically it's low vibration, but it doesn't have to be. So, I mean, right? I could, the responses are leading to that. So the past can be filled with wonder, splendor, excitement, and miracles. And so just yesterday, I was meditating. I don't know if you can hear my voice, but I'm journeying over through some bug that jumped into me, and so I was listening to, you know, different sounds, positive things, while I was meditating and just trying to get in touch with my body to find out what's happening. And then something happened to me about a year and a half ago. I was robbed, and a lot of my valuables were taken and I was hurt very badly. And so I don't want to remember that, but it's there when I'm not thinking about it, when nothing has happened related to it, it keeps coming. And so I'm like, yeah, I don't care for you to be in my consciousness because it hurt me. And so I'm making a conscious effort to rid myself of that memory, because that memory hit me deeply. And then I question why I did. And it's because I'm a giver. So for someone to take from me like that, cut deeply. And so, and then also in regards to why I'm mourning my husband the way I'm mourning him, and it came to me was that there's certain things that were present when he was here that is totally missed. And so opposed to, getting into depression or anything like that, which I don't think is healthy, just coming to an understanding as to, okay, you loved him, he's not here, what are you going to do with that past? And for me, what I'm doing with that past is I'm reckoning with it. I'm not running from it. I'm reckoning with it. I'm looking at it. So you know what? He was my best cheerleader, right? He just like really cheered me on all the time. And that this morning when I woke up going to get my water, that's what came to my mind, is that, okay, you missed your cheerleader. I don't have to wish him back here. That's no. And so that's what I want to throw out and share with the community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you so much for sharing. And what comes up for me when I hear you talking and hear you sharing your stories and your experiences is the connections. It's the connections of what happens to us, how we take it in, and how it registers in our brain. So when you say, I no longer want this memory, it's to do the work to disconnect that system, to disconnect that communication. And this is just something that I learned through my training in brain spotting. I am not a trainer of brain spotting. If anyone wants to learn how to do brain spotting for their community and for their practice, they would need to get that training. I am a practitioner, so I can help give access to that healing. And what it does is it helps the brain build new connections. It's not that you don't want that memory to come up. We can say that with our words. It's just that the memories will come up, but we don't want it to have that feeling in our system that way. There are memories, there are thoughts that our minds, our brains are built to hold on to. Short-term, long-term memories, things that we had stored in utero as our brain was developing in our mother's womb. There are things in our system, pre-verbal, even before our executive function, that makes us realize, what is this? What's going on? That we can make sense of it. Even before this is fully developed, we have those memories in there. Why they don't come up for most of us, they don't come up. Why? Because of how that connection isn't in the body. It's being rerouted somewhere else. It's not important to us right now. It doesn't need to be here. It doesn't need to give a reaction in the body this way. But when something is traumatic, scares us, brings us into that reptilian part, that survival, we're going to be on high alert. Notice if anybody has pets, especially a cat, when you snap or you throw things, they're quick, they're reflexes. That's what happens to us in our system, in our brain. The messages get sent so quickly, and then we have to process it. There's different parts of our brain. I can get into that in another presentation, but there's different parts of like, hey, is that dangerous to me right now? Or I remember this memory. It made me feel unsafe. It made me feel scared. I was injured at this time. I'm going to hold on to that because I might need that information to survive. Our bodies, our brain is wired to survive. Everything that we receive through our five senses, through our skin, through the little hair follicles, is sending information into our system for us to survive. Whew, it feels cold. I need to bundle up. Whew, I'm too hot. I don't know if this heat is coming because, I'm getting some hot flashes, or because I need to just take some layers off because I need to cool down my system. I'm just perspiring too much. We can't go on overload. We can't overheat. It's all for survival. I hope that that helps a little bit. You have anything from, oh, I see a hand raised. Teresa?
I like the fact that you talked about the survival mode, and that how sometimes having these memories is like a way to like keep to remind you, like to know like when, like like if something is happening. Because there's certain things that happen to me that I remember. So I'm a little bit more, what do you call it? What's that word when you're like more, my antennas is more up around certain situations because I remember what happened. So it in a way it's been very, very good for me because it gives me, like, I can sense things about people and I can't explain why, but I can. Sometimes it really just stresses me out sometimes because it's like I could just see, or I could see things or feel stuff about a person. I'd be like, dang, why that
Yeah,
happened?
empathically,
Right,
you're
yes,
receiving
right,
it in your
right,
system.
right.
Got
Yeah,
like a
so
spidey
sometimes
sense.
exactly. So sometimes, like I like, especially like just talking to certain people, it was like, especially if I'm in a good mindset, because I know with me, I can allow stuff to get me, to a place where I'm not tapping into that spiritual part of me. But when I'm tapping into that spiritual part, I'm able to see and hear different things that I normally would not be able to see. And I have to like back up sometime from a person because of what I'm experiencing, and they might not understand it, but I understand it, and so I've been gifted with it, but sometimes it is challenging because like you don't, I don't expect it to happen. And then it's like spirit's like, nope, like stop. That's nope, stop, and I'm like, oh wow, so it's a blessing, I'm gonna say it's a blessing. I'm not gonna say nothing else. But it's a blessing that has challenges, let me say that. Some days.
Absolutely. It's all purposeful. Thank you for sharing again. I appreciate the conversation with you. It is all purposeful. It's like, I was hearing you speak, and the pictures that were coming to my mind is like the whiskers of a cat. The whiskers of a cat, they use that to know about their orientation, about their surroundings. And we actually, we forget sometimes we're mammals. We're straight up animals. Our hairs are picking up vibrations that we're not registering just yet. So it's coming into our system. So we say that's in our subconscious, right? The unconsciousness of us, you picking things up, the energy of people. You can pick up somebody else's energy and how they're vibrating without you first recognizing it, because your hair follicles, your pores, all of that. And the biggest organ, right? A lot of people say the biggest organ. We don't have enough understanding on the biggest organ. This is our biggest receivers. We're bringing in energy, the temperature, how somebody's vibing. You ever walked into a space and you can feel that it was so thick? You're like, the air is thick in here. Or you can walk in and it's like, I don't know, but it just doesn't feel cool here. Or, like the heebie-jeebies, like you walk into space and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know why I feel the way that I feel in this space. We're picking up all that energy, and depending on your experience and depending on your awareness and your natural gifts, that's how you bring it into process. And your brain is so, we're so wonderfully made. It's all in here somewhere. It's opening up and tapping to that. Thank you for sharing. I see Kaisha's. Hey, hi Kaisha.
Hi, Yuvelca. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you. And yourself?
I'm good. Thank you. Um, I just wanted to make a comment about my own experience with brain spotting, and I guess I just didn't know that's what it was until we've been talking about it a few times during your sessions. It's just recently I was talking to my just a coworker supervisor at work about mental health and stress and being resilient. And you know, he was telling me his blood pressure's high. He's been going through some things with the grief. And he's a supervisor, so he's a leader and blood pressure, you know, so we was talking about that. And then it turned to me and my experience with my divorce, and I realized like a blurb in time can change your whole makeup. I thought I was fine during the separation from 2020 to 2021, but the day it was final, you know, it was an emotional day. Okay, fine, you know, I had to go to court and everything. That was an emotional day. But days later, I didn't realize what it was, but I had an anxiety attack over something minor at work. A work leader corrected me, and I flipped out. And he was in his right to correct me, you know. But I tried to calm down, and I was crying before I approached him, and I didn't know why I was crying. I was just overwhelmed, and I was overwhelmed with work and everything like that. And when I got to him, I started to explain how he offended me, and he was very sincere. He did his job, you know, trying to bring me down. Then I took something else personal at work. I felt people were lashing out at me. So I talked to my therapist about this, and she begins to explain an anxiety attack I never had. You know, so and I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed because for the last year and a half, I've been trying to keep it together. And at that moment, that blurb in time, that day afterwards, it changed the inside. It changed how I reacted to things. And I didn't realize that it was, like you said, embedded. Something affected us, you know, embedded in our brain. And I watched my daughter, you know, all this. So of course, like you said, child abuse, things that we experience as children, that we think that we're over it, but it surprises us when it shows up in a different way. I think that's what it was. It surprised the crap out of me when someone said it was an anxiety because of what I was going through in the last year and a half. I didn't realize it. So I'm just working through it, like Catherine said about the thoughts that come up. You know, I don't like those thoughts. Like Catherine said, I don't like those thoughts. You know, it just pops up. It's like grief. You know, we talked about grief. You know, it just pops up, and you try to say cancel, but it comes up later. It still comes up later, and that's what I've been working on, is how to change. You know.
Yeah,
anyway,
I mean,
I'm just rambling, but thank you.
No, thank you for sharing. You know, this it's a meaty question, right? And it has us thinking about things that happen to us. And grief, to me, when I promote my business and the work that I do, there's a title that I use, like Charlie Brown, you know, good grief. And a lot of people come for me for that. Like, how can you say good grief? It's a regulation. It's almost like in your vehicle, you know, that you have the thermostat. It lets you know, hey, it's getting too hot. You have to let out some steam, so to speak. Some of this needs to be released in a different way. So I see grief as a constant companion, but it doesn't have to be a companion that disables you. It doesn't have to be a companion that, you know, shuts you down, but it does need some processing. It does need some processing. And what I've been learning in I'm continuously, you know, training in brain spotting. I could explain some more of that. Brain spotting, you know, I'm coming to realize is this powerful tool to help give access to trauma, because people don't need to speak a word. Like, you don't have to relive your trauma, because your brain and your body are so wonderfully made. Once they get an access point, it's almost like finding coordinates, you know, coordinates, like the X and Y axis. once you find them, through your eye gaze and you process certain things, it reaches levels deep within the brain. I can also share some research studies. It's been said for serious trauma to receive some healing, it needs to reach the midbrain. It needs to get in deep to where trauma is stored. And as I mentioned in part 1, most of the modalities like talk therapy deals with the frontal lobe, this part right here, where you're trying to make sense of it, where you're trying to understand, why am I feeling this way? Why is this coming up? This is coming from here. Trauma is back here. Trauma, there is no language back there, but it keeps repeating over and over like a broken record. You said something about, something minor that, it seems something minor. It seemed like something minor to the outside world, but in your system is bringing in all this information like, oh snap, I remember when this happened. I need to be on alert for this smell. I need to be on alert for this thought. Oh, my body, the system is feeling this emotion. I remember the last time I felt that emotion. I needed to protect this. I needed to jump. I needed to leap. I needed to run. I needed to make sure that I knew about my surroundings. I needed to make sure that's what's going on inside your system, depending on how many layers of trauma you have experienced or negative experiences that you have had. And the big issue that I just want us as Black and brown folk to understand, real healing is not going to come for us just yet until our environments feel safe. Everybody talks about a safe space, safe space. We know we live in a world of uncertainty. There's no real safe space, but I sure as heck want a safer space than the space that I was in, at least so I can process some things and let some things go and be able to bring in new information that's going to help me for my growth. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. Elaine, I see your hand raised. Hi, Elaine, how are you?
Good rising. I'm good, thank you. When you were speaking, I was remembering the part 1 of your presentation and how you said brain spotting was sort of above EFT and EMDR.
Not above, but they have found research that they received more positive feedback because of how deep it goes into the brain to seek out trauma capsules.
My question is, what is the difference? Because I have a therapist now that wants to do EMDR with me, and I've never done it before. And so my question is, what is the difference between the two? And also, does trauma have the ability to sort of affect your memory in a way? Because I almost don't know, I can't pinpoint, like a major traumatic event. I remember lots of different environments and scenarios that
absolutely it does. It absolutely does. Trauma does change the brain. Just like, if we look around in just conversations that we hear, people have grief brain, you have baby brain when you're pregnant, you have chemo brain when it absolutely does, because it's changing the pathways. You got to understand, and I'm just going to try to give the best explanation that I have, right? We have connections in our brains that look like this. I'll try to do another presentation where I can show pictures and stuff, but it's like this, right? We know what nerves look like, or we've seen pictures of nerves. So look at all these pathways. There are things that we cannot possibly know. Like when I'm learning from these neuroscientists is, when our brain has 1 to 4 quadrillion, I don't even know how big that number is, of connections possible. We cannot possibly know. And on the flip side, when something happens to us, if we have that many avenues for positive connections, How many avenues are there available for negative connections? Quadrillion, not even millions, not even billions, 1 to 4 quadrillion connections. So it absolutely changes the brain. It changes, I took some notes just to share because I knew some things were going to be coming up. It changes the way that you pay attention. It's hard to pay attention. It's hard to accept new places. It's hard to interact with people that you really don't know or you're trying to get to know. There's blockers in that. It changes all those things. It gives you feelings, and it elevates like your levels, you know, of fear, anxiety, because you're on high alert. You're antsy. It makes it difficult for you to even predict if something is dangerous, or to predict if something felt like it was dangerous, but it's no longer threatening to be dangerous, if that makes sense. It makes it different. It makes it different for you to respond. You know, some people should jump, you know, when they hear a gunshot. You know, some people do. They jump, they hide, they duck. And some people just walk around like, I'm numb to this. It changes all those things. And in order for us to effectively get healing and some groundedness to understand and heal our trauma, we have to feel safe, or safer than the place that we came from. We need to feel supported. We need constant reassurance. And in sometimes we need to face up to certain situations that are not dangerous, but to face up to them so that way we can relearn and remind ourselves that we can handle some things. Like, I know a lot of people, you know, and I say a lot of people like in my circles, like, I don't want to hear, you know, that I'm called resilient, but we are. We're very fragile and delicate, but we can also build coping skills. So I hope that that helps, you know, in that part. And for your part 2 of your question about EMDR and brain spotting, I'm not here to say that brain spotting is the best. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying that other modalities don't have their place or that they help in the healing. They do. What I'm saying is that brain spotting can stand alone, or it can integrate with all these other modalities. And the difference, the founder and developer of brain spotting, he started out in EMDR. You know, that was his first EMDR. And what EMDR is, how he explained it to me, is it's rapid eye movement. So while they're coming across your field of vision very rapidly, brain spotting slows it down. Brain spotting slows it down. It's a focus gaze. That's the difference. But can EMDR be integrated with brain spotting? Absolutely. The founder and developer, EMDR to brain spotting. There's so many other practitioners. They have play therapy. They're using it with mindful meditation. They use brain spotting for athletes. It doesn't always have to be for trauma. It could be for performance enhancement. There's so many things. And, you know, if research is done on EMDR, it took EMDR 22 years, if my research serves me correctly, to even be considered evidence-based. You know, the founder and developer is not so much concerned on it being evidence-based, but that it works. And the practitioners that use it in their field are getting the results. And that's the evidence for us. And according to the time, you know, the dates where he founded and developed it, I think it was 2003. So if I do my math correctly and I add 22 years, brain spotting will be evidence-based in 2025. You know, and this is just my predictions and my thoughts and feelings on that. But that's the difference. And I hope that, you know, that helps. And I answered that. I'm ready for you, John Carl.
Yes. Would you like to go to your next slide?
Sure.
With the visual?
Yeah.
Let's see, because I like this image. It definitely makes me think. I don't know what I think about yet, but while it's up, I'll give it some thought.
Now, we were talking about noticing, going into the past, noticing what has come up for us that made us why did we hold on to it for so long? Now, if you go back and look at that, what comes to mind when you add that moment that came up for you and you look at this picture? Let's just take a moment to look at that. Look at every corner of the picture. Look at the lines. Look how they connect. Look how they intertwine, overlap, intersect. Different angles from corner to corner, top to bottom. Suspension, yes. This, and I would like to share, if anybody wants to share, I would like to, if there's any way to share and keep this picture up to have the conversation. What comes up just to hear some of the voices when you look at this and you think of what you shared or what came up for you? It looks like a spider web and how things can get caught in your, exactly. It is a spider web. Exactly. And this.
Yeah, we have Teresa with a hand raised, but we also
Okay.
have comments in the chat that I'd like to share with you. And let's hear from Teresa first.
I can understand why thoughts would get stuck because it's like a spider web. And when I think about, I walked through many spider webs, they got on my nerves. It's just but it's like thoughts are like getting stuck in those areas. And so what I would like to do is figure out how to unstuck, have the, like this, have the power where I can release myself from the spider web that's in my brain so that I could, I could move on, because I feel like some of the stuff is traumatic, and I've grown tremendously. But then there's times when, I revert. And so what this conversation for me is, and I'm gonna be quiet, is that I'm be quiet for the moment. It's giving me grace to give myself grace. Because now it's helping me understand my brain a lot more than what, than what I real now it helps me to understand like how my brain is made and why I could be having, memory, like being stuck in, some areas because of this looking like a spider web, and I know like when a spider web grabs stuff, it's hard for stuff to get out of the spider web. Just think about it, it's hard to get out of a spider web, especially like some kind of incident or whatever. It's hard for the animal to get out of it, So I see now. And
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Now, before you get to the comments, John, I just wanted to add, now, if you're noticing that this is what can happen, and this is what it may look like in your brain, the spider web, right? Depending on what spider weave the web, some of it is easy to break through. Some of it is real sticky that you're like, what is this? Depending on the size of the spider, right? Your imagination, it could be such a web that you're actually stuck on there too. Imagine the connections. If the spider web was the nerves, imagine the connections from the brain to the body. So now this is going on in your brain, but where are you feeling it in your body? So now you're walking around with shoulder pain and you're like, I can't remember that I bumped into something. Did I sleep wrong? Am I getting old? And just to think that it could be none of those things. It could be that that's the part where trauma is stuck in your body. That's the part, that's the nerves that it's affecting. That's where the body's storing it. The body keeps a score. Your stomach. We've all felt this before. You go somewhere, you're like, oh, this person, this thing, or that smell makes me sick to my stomach. Everything comes in here before it goes out, right? You got to process it. What is that, right? The feeling comes in. Look at how quick that is. Just touch your hand. You could feel yourself tapping. The message comes in. What is that? Oh, that's a tapping on my hand. All right. Is it threatening? No, it's not threatening. Oh, okay. We're good. Somebody touches you on your back. If it's from the back, you jump. Oh, that was a touch in my back. See how quick those messages are going? Oh, that was a touch in my back. Should I be scared? Oh, yes, I'm scared because I don't know who that person is. Or something happened to me behind me one time, whether I was a child, whether I was in my mother's womb and it happened to her while I was developing in her womb. The body keeps all that score. So how do we come to an understanding of that? It's deep work. Sometimes it is the CBT questions, your feelings, not so much that you want to change your thoughts, your thinkings and feelings, but it's just to notice what comes up for you. The workbook that I had in an offering is just to have you think, where are your thoughts are, why they're coming up, where do you feel them, how do they make you feel, just to bring more an awareness. Once you have an awareness and a little bit of this understanding, you can pretty much say, hey, with your trauma and your grief map, I feel this way because of this. It affects me here. This is the work that I need to do. It's almost to zone in the work that you need to do in the area. Because a lot of people say, oh, I'm going in to heal trauma. Okay. Trauma is an umbrella. There's layers upon layers upon layers. So what level are you working? Are you working on the ground floor? Are you working, it's almost like the Empire State Building. Are you working on the tip top? Are you working, what part of the trauma that you're working with? I just so happen to know from experience, and because I've been a practitioner since March, and clients are just coming that I've never seen, even as just a birth and death. And I say just a birth and death doula, when I added on the brain spotting piece, so many people are coming in like, hey, I would like a session. Because it goes in deep and it goes in fast. Maybe not in the first session, because it's almost like this with psychoeducation. This is what happens during a session. This is what's going to happen with you. You might experience this. This might come up for you. Then the second session, right? Because it's almost like the healing of trauma that I explained to you. You need to feel safe. So it's dual attunement, right? You feel safe with me, I'm holding space with you, or the practitioner that you choose. Then the next level, you can have your system calm down. Now we can really get focused into the brain spotting session. And by the third session, you're good. You already have the education, right? You know what's going on. You already have a trust connection, right? And then now you're able to really calm down your system, really go into the brain spotting session and see what comes up for you. And I say see what comes up because it's the uncertainty principle. We cannot know. We don't know. With 1 to 4 quadrillion connections that can be made, we don't know, but we know something is happening because the brain and the body know how to regulate itself. And that I try to just give a little clip of it, because the training is deep. It's a lot of information. And it's a lot of technical, like the terms, parts of the brain, parts of the body, different types of trauma, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder, compounded trauma. Then in there, you can have domestic violence, child abuse, and any situations, what happened to the body, any injuries to the body, surgery. There's so many things, and compound that. You can be a person that has experienced this on top of this, on top of this, on top of that. And how many of us actually had the time to really take, care of that part without everything that goes on in the day-to-day life, right? You still have to wake up in the morning and life happens. You still got to pay bills. Some of us still have to go to work for someone. We still have to take care of elders. We still have to take care of our children, or our adult children, or our elders, on top of taking care of ourselves. On top of, if you own a home, maintaining the home with whatever's going on with your body and brain, on top of dealing with the outside world and how they perceive you, how they treat you, right? The racism, the bias, the dealing with the medical system. There's a lot. We are not free of trauma, in a sense, but it doesn't have to be doom and gloom. It can come with some understanding. And I know I went off on a tangent a bit, but I hope that helps, and it's informational pieces that you can use.
You're welcome. This is Chantel. For me, I personally compartmentalize a lot of things. so that I don't have to relive those moments and I don't have to think about it. And from this conversation, it sounds like a lot of those opportunities, when they come up and I do compartmentalize and push memories to the back of my head so I don't have to deal with them, they're living in the body. And there's this dis-ease, which leads to disease. And I've had cancer. I've had back pain. I've had neck pain. I've had things come up. And it's like, okay, these things keep popping up in my body. The metaphysical part of trauma. And so when we go through these sessions, say we're going through a brainstorming session or we're in therapy and these moments come up and we know that they're in the body, it's in my shoulder, for example, how do we move that trauma in and around and out of our bodies now that it's coming up? Now that we feel it and we're aware of that, how do you suggest we move it out?
It's not a suggestion that I can make. The system does it.
Mhm.
The system does it. There's nothing that I can physically tell you, hey, do this. What it is that your brain and your body, because of the sessions, because of brain spotting, your brain and your body work in such a way that it knows how to attune itself to move it itself. It's the system that does the work, not you nor I. What we have is that we have relation, we have dual attunement. So in a safe space where you feel safe with someone and that you know that this person is holding space for you and is rooting for your healing, right? And also with the focused eye gaze, we find your brain spot. We have so many. In part one, we did that with the exercise about looking around and just noticing without turning your face, just looking around and just noticing how different parts of where you look feels differently within your body. It's the same way zoning in with an issue, a concern that you bring into the session. No two sessions are the same. No two, you can bring up the issues. It won't. I went in with a laundry list for mine. I went in and I'm going to deal with my childhood trauma. I'm going to deal with my domestic violence. I'm going to deal with my rape. I'm going to deal with this. And my brain went somewhere else. But it went in deep and it went in fast. And the thing is that when I say this, it's not fear-based, that, oh my goodness, some people shake, you could feel it in your body, the voice. Some people can't speak. We don't need to know what it is to know that it is. If that helps, do you need me to clarify some more?
No, that's helpful. Just thinking of ways that once we become aware of what those pain points are, literally like the shoulders or your back or your stomach is always tight. Now that we know what that is, just some ways for it to release itself so we can feel some relief. But it sounds like over time, the more you talk about the trauma, the body will do that work for you.
Yeah, the thing is this, that you don't even have to talk about the trauma to relive it. Some people they process inwardly and some people process outwardly. So the beauty of brain spotting is that you don't have to, it's not talk therapy, but if you want to talk, you can talk. Even just sitting right there in silence with a focused eye gaze on your brain spot, will let the brain and the body, let the system do the work. We are made, right? We're wonderfully made. Our systems know how to heal itself. We just have to give it the opportunity. And if you're talking about what can we do, there's coping skills, of course. We can do relaxation methods. We can do breathing. Everyone knows deep breaths, calms your nervous system down, slows down your heart rate. And then the distractions, right? Listening to music. But if we look at the world today, everybody's looking for a distraction, right? Let me just get this so I don't have to think about that without addressing that. And what happens is that it gets pushed back and then there's layers upon layers. It's almost like when you, a cookie sheet, how when you spray it and you're going to put it in the oven, if you don't clean it properly and you keep spraying it, doesn't that grease build up and it gets darker and darker and your pan gets darker and darker and then it becomes harder to scrub? Now you need steel wool. Now you need something to try to make it look like it did in the beginning. That's almost the same.
Thank you for that and that illustration too. And Yuvelca, I just want to pause for a second. We have a few hands raised, but it's this 7:55. So we do want to acknowledge those folks who have been able to join us so far. So I'll let you talk to them.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know that you have things to do and get your day completely and fully started right now. Some of you need to go off and do some work or go to service or do some of your volunteer work. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. Please know that my contact information will be in the chat, or you can come back to the replay and catch up on this information. And I hope that you have a powerful day. Thank you.
That was warm and beautiful greeting. Okay, in reference to your image, and I'll put the image back up. I'm looking, go to the chat, but here's the image again, the slide. And would you like me to read some of the comments in the chat? We have hands raised also. But
Yeah,
okay,
go
so
for the chat and then we can go for the hand raise.
okay, so let's go to the chat. And if I can get back to where the comment started when this image was up, and I think I'm there now. So Elaine Bay said, loss, strengthening, and some connections, big gaps. Ingrid Morris said suspension came up for her when she looked at this image. And Teresa said it looked like a spider web, how things can get caught up in your brain, caught in your brain. Ingrid Moore mentioned fragility. Oh, what a tangled web we weave.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think that's okay. In the mind, this came from Zakia. She said, it reminds me of how much our bodies are representation of a larger creation. Our nervous system looks like a spider web.
Yes.
Ingrid Moore said, it also reminds me of a cocoon the butterfly needs to transform emergencies.
Yes.
Okay, there are a few more comments, but I think those are the
Yes, it
comments that
can.
related to this image. And I also wanted to say, when I look at this image, it makes me feel warm, kind of like, it feels safe to me. When I look at this, I imagine being above, you know, the spider web being high, and from my perspective, I can see so much below. It looks like so many different pathways of different adventures that I can take. Like every point, looking at it, it looks kind of wet, you know, like there's so much more to embrace and to see there. And then the color of it, how it illuminates, you know, it just seemed like a beautiful, calm, and peaceful place to be when I look at this spider web. That's my comment. I'm complete.
Thank you so much for that. And I agree. Yes. I saw something come up real quick in the chat. Does it work with addiction? Yes. Brain spotting can work with everything under the sun, literally. And I've seen it firsthand. This spider web, just in harmony with what you said, John Carl. I mean, to me, it's like neuroplasticity, right? The neurons that fire together, wire together, or that wire together, fire together, that it can give a look and feel like somewhat in isolation, like that web in the back looks like, oh, I might be by myself or the one in the corner, but that there's also connection, community, and the opportunity for growth and change. And from what we do know from the brain and what I've been learning from the neuroscientists that I'm surrounded around is that there's always a pathway. Always new pathways are made. Doesn't matter your age. Does it slow down a little bit? Sure. But there's always a way for growth, for new pathways, new connections. So that gives me hope with, you know, a lot of the trauma that we are experiencing. And I say trauma lightly in the sense that we will always experience something vicariously, secondhand, right? You hear something go, whether you see it or not, you know what that sounds like, and you know what it could be. You might not know what it is, but you know what it could be. And yeah, just to peel off some of those trauma layers would be amazing. I see hands raised. So, and comments. You decide, John, where you want to bring me. I'm here for it.
Okay. As you said earlier, we'll read the comments, then we'll go to some hands. So let's invite Catherine in to share with us. Catherine, come off mute.
I'm here, Sir John Carl. What has been coming to me recently in regards to trauma, as I am coming to terms with, what holidays I celebrate, and acknowledge and how it really actually impacts me. It's come to me that when we accept and acknowledge the trauma that happened in regards to human beings enslaving other human beings, and then also with that date that they want to acknowledge concerning when that was dissipated, that it was trauma after trauma after trauma. And I was thinking, because in my mind I think oftentimes of wonderfulness and how wonderful it would have been for us to have, for those who were enslaved, to have a period of rest, to come into terms with what actually happened, right? And so I was thinking about, as Chantel was sharing, I was thinking about how we right now in the present can do some things that will allow us to maybe not balance, but allow us to deal with some of the trauma, because I have a lot of identification with what Chantel shared. I actually wrote some poetry about it, how my neck pain and just the trauma of my womb, and as soon as something happens, my stomach hurts. So I can get my body in a better condition to deal with it when it comes, because it's gonna come. It's gonna come. And so how do I position myself to deal with it? And so what's come for me on my journey was that I have to eat differently. I have to take rest seriously. I have a sleep pap machine. They want me to sleep with a boot or something for my foot. I mean, it just never ends. Seriously, I told the doctor that ain't gonna be happening. I'm not sleeping in a boot. But I'm saying all that to say, and I'm
I
sharing
had to
that.
sleep with a boot.
Right. So
I had to sleep with a boot on my left foot for like a year. It was like 3 summers. This summer, I just got relief.
I had to draw the line. I forget about it. So, and so what the spirit has been ministering to me is that, all right, beloved, we know these things. You came across in the boat that was traumatizing.
Right.
They say you can go, you're free to go right now, but you don't know how to go. So, all this trauma over trauma. So the spirit was saying, all right, so for right now, we're going to deal with this within your power. And I have the power to eat better. I have the power to understand the importance of rest. I have the power of, now that I know that there are, I've been living most of my life shallow breathing. I'm 61 years old, and more than 40 years I've been shallow breathing. You say deep breathe deep, and my body would be like, what's that? And I went to do it last night. And then in this meditation, it said, now go to your regular breathing. I couldn't even feel my regular breathing. That's how shallow my breathing is from the trauma that my body continues to hold. And so I'm saying that there is relief. There is relief. But just like the soil, we're supposed to leave the soil alone for a minute, right? We get our nutrients from the soil. We're supposed to leave that alone for a minute.
Crops,
but we don't do it. And to me, the same thing with my body. So periodically has to be a fast. It has to be. You got to take it down a notch for a minute and we adjust. That's what I'm learning on my journey. And I know my body is not designed differently than everybody else's. So I'm just sharing that with the community, is that we definitely have more power than we know we do.
Yes, then we're led to believe, right? That's another way to block us and keep us down. Thank you for your wisdom, my elder. Thank you. Thank you for your wisdom. And as you were speaking, there is relief. And the same way that trauma is multifaceted, I think that relief and the healing needs to be multifaceted. If you see trauma with your eyes, now you see something and now it's making you react because you remember, oh my gosh, I saw that. I don't want to see that. So then what's the healing for the eyes? If you hear, like I just said, the car screech, and you know what that sounds like, what's the healing for your ears? The food, right? You're feeling something in your body. What can you put into your body, or what can you do to your body to give you some relief and some healing? So, it's like the frequency and the vibration and taking something else in. So thank you so much for your wisdom. You have my mind thinking of so many things now that I want to share. Yeah. You can get relief, but it also needs to be multifaceted, just like the trauma that you experience, or the pathways, the entryways that it can have. I see 2 more hand raised.
Yes, we have 2 other hand raised, and let's invite Teresa Scott first to share, and then we'll go to Amelia, who will come after her.
Peace and blessing, family. I'm just loving this conversation. I'm so glad we have it. I really needed it in my life today. The thing that I wanted to say is that the breathing is wonderful. I learned how to breathe here 3 years ago on Woo. I never knew how to breathe until I came on Woo. And that deep breathing, like I was doing some deep breathing last night before I went to sleep because I was just feeling so tense. And I just started doing some breathing. Next thing I know, I was knocked out sleep. And so the deep breathing is one. And I just want to thank you and John, because sometimes the trauma have you seeing something that's beautiful in a kind of negative way. And so when you and John was talking about the brain, I was like, I love the way John brains and views life. He just has a way of looking at life through different eyes. And you came back and copied what he was saying, just continue to add to it. So thank you for that. And the thing what I learned about is dealing with the trauma that I've dealt is that what I've been doing is I've been listening to a lot of grateful and gratitude tapes. And just just saying like I was having a situation with someone, with my caregiver today, and she was getting on my nerve, and I was like, you know what, and I just switched. I'm grateful for my caregiver. I'm grateful that I have someone to help me. I'm grateful, and it's like it just switched my whole attitude when I went to grateful. Like, yes, she was getting on my nerve. I think she was doing something silly, but it just got on my nerve. Like, nope, I'm not doing. I'm switching. And when I switched to grateful, it just switched my whole attitude. So and the other thing what I want to say is that my legs are swelling, and I have a leg problem with my stomach, and it does come from my trauma. But what I have been doing, what I learned from Be the Tree, is that I just started like massaging my body or massaging my legs, and just telling them, telling my stomach or whatever part of my head, whatever, that how beautiful that you are. When I just start telling, I just love you. And I just, I massage my body, and I massage my stomach, and I massage my legs. And so what I'm doing is that instead of allowing the trauma or whatever I'm dealing with that particular day to take me over, I just start loving on myself. And so that is one of the greatest things that I've ever could have done, was just telling myself how much I love myself and how beautiful that I am and how brilliant that I am. And so just speaking that life over myself, it actually starts switching. And especially because I had like a lot of wound trauma. And when I just massage my stomach, and so some stuff is eating, but there's some trauma that has happened that you have to speak life into the part of the body that had the trauma, so it can come back to life.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your share. Absolutely. And this also goes in harmony with, I believe, what Adam was saying earlier today, movement. Absolutely. Speaking life into it. Your words, a vibration, it changes the frequency, right? touching, rubbing, it moves something. That's also another way of doing movement. We might not be able to run 2 or 3 miles. You know, maybe with the assistance of our hands, we can lift up our legs and do like a running action or a walking action or a moving action. Maybe we're not able to do that, but we're able to rub our legs, and absolutely movement, vibration, and changing the frequency. Thank you so much for that share. I appreciate that.
Okay, wonderful. Let's hear Amelia's share. Amelia, would you please come off mute and share with us?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I came in late to this conversation, but what was coming up for me from what I've heard so far goes back to a conversation that I had in a class that I had last week. I'm part of a Course in Miracles class, and last week the lesson we were talking about was how everything that has happened to us, it's already a memory. Like the only thing that is present is right now in this very moment as I'm speaking. Everything that has already happened is already a memory. So when we are having a reaction or when we're having a painful thought around something, it's already something that is past. It's not even happening in this moment. And so when we when I had that conversation, it was like a new area within myself opened up. And it was with that the understanding that as something comes up and I have a reaction, it is not actually physically happening in this moment. And I can make the choice to acknowledge, okay, I'm having a reaction to this, but it's not actually happening right this moment. The thing that have helped me to kind of move through those things is some things that were mentioned here previously. Breathing, because when you connect to your breath, you're actually bringing yourself back into what is going on right now. The other thing that has been helpful in regards to that is the practice of heart math. And I love that image that you shared. I missed if it was actually a spider web or if it was actually our brain.
It was a
Because
spider web.
okay, because our brain and the neurons in our brain actually is a reflection of that spider web. And heart math is a science-based study group that actually found that similar to that spider web, that same web exists within our heart. So there's a heart brain that has a that has neurons in that same way that actually connects to all these different neurons. So the neurons in your heart connect to the neurons in your brain, and it creates this level of coherence within the body.
Yes.
So so much of the things that we are feeling and responding to right now are things that are not even happening right now. And so just being aware of that can bring yourself back to, oh, okay, I'm having this reaction, I'm feeling pain, I'm going to this place, but it's not actually happening. Let me breathe and connect to the breath and bring myself back to this moment. Thank you so much for this. I really,
Thank you.
really needed the
So refreshing. Thank you
reaffirmation.
for that. Thank you so much. Oh, that was so refreshing. Yes. Thank you. Ah, absolutely. Whew. Taking a moment to take that all in. I get super excited when the different parts of the body are connected and we can have that conversation that and just to be reminded that it might not be happening. And I say this lovingly because there are those that do have serious trauma that are not able to make that to distinguish that, because the part of the, and I didn't, like I said, I didn't want to make this into a brain training, but like the hippocampus is what lets us know about time and context. You are here. It's okay. Things are safe. And this is why sometimes the meditation, when it says, and I say it because there's so many, right, different types, but it's like, take a look around to your orientation. Notice what's to the left of you. See what's in your surrounding. You know, take notice of your feet. Notice that your feet are on the ground. You're grounded, like you're here, you're present, you're here with us. So thank you for that. Where you want to take me, John Carl? I'm here for it.
Oh, wow. This session is so beautiful so far. And what I love about this session is that there's so much here that I have recently been studying. When you speak of neuroplasticity, I just taken a class at the Georgia State University on trauma. And I just heard that word and I got more open to what trauma has done to me. Like, you know, I introduced myself to you this morning, let you know that I'm hearing impaired, but I grew up hearing impaired and I did not know until I was 32. There was so much trauma involved in my life that I've experienced that I'm still working through. And understanding and knowing this, even with your session this morning, the reminder of what trauma does to our bodies and how we pick up this information is such a beautiful, refreshing reminder. We're all in this together, and it's all unfolding. We have to be compassionate towards each other, and totally understand that a lot of this stuff is not being done on purpose. Our body have reactions, and you know, we are traumatized, and which causes our responses, which may then offend someone else. But when we understand, well, that's just trauma. That's just a reaction from trauma. And Chantal just reminded me, but I was sharing with you this morning, and it's a constant reminder when interacting with my mom that, you know, she's also been through a lot of trauma, and her responses to me are coming from that trauma, and then the constant trauma that she's going through, which she gets from watching the news. You know, like I said to you, she's always reminding me to be concerned and to be worried about things. And from what I understand about life, you can't go through life being worried about things that have already happened, because we are creating what is going to happen next.
Absolutely.
With our thoughts, with our expectations. So if you expect bad things to happen because you watch the news every day, then bad things are going to continue to happen.
Right.
And when I interact with my mom, it's a constant reminder of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I find myself finding a way to speak to my mom so she doesn't think that I am correcting her, because that's a big thing for her. I'm the parent, you're the child. You know, you can't speak to me as though you're correcting me. But I'm like, Mom, the world has changed. There's been so much change since you were growing up and coming to understanding things. So much have changed, and there's so much new knowledge that I try to instill in my mom. But I have to accept that she's also having responses from trauma and blocks to receiving certain knowledge.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for this session, grateful for the information that I've recently taken on, the classes on trauma that I've taken. And
Yes.
I'm just grateful for life. I'm grateful for my mother and for her experiences. Grateful that she's still here and that I can build that bridge. As I look at the spider web slide, it looks like bridges, and it reminds us that there are bridges to be built, not just within ourselves, but within our communities and our exchange with families, you know, who are still dealing with their own trauma and may not be aware because they don't have the new information that we have. So if I have this new information, it's my job to build that bridge, or attempt or try to build that bridge to make life a little bit more easier, you know, accepting, a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more, being a little bit more compassionate towards those who may not understand.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, John Carl,
You're
about the
welcome.
bridge. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, because it had me thinking too about those that don't have access to the bridge. You know, we should bring them access, you know, if we can, and to know that bridges can be built upon and expanded, you know. Thank you. It's such a lovely conversation we've been having here, and I'm so thankful to be able to be in this space. And I saw a question come up earlier that I wasn't able to address at that time because I was just caught into the present moment and having the conversation. But yes, brain spotting can work with children. There have been studies shown that a mom, that's a gestational mom that has a baby in utero, can receive brain spotting, and activities can be seen in that area as well. So, I mean, there's so many research, so much research, so much studies, and there's still more to come and more to go. So again, I would like, I know that I see the time, and I just want to pose the question again now that we have this information. As you look back, oh, wait, I see another hand that I want to be mindful of a new voice in the space.
Yes. Onaje, please come off mute and share with us.
Family. Just sharing that last night my wife gave me this phenomenal, and her team, phenomenal birthday party where I hit 7-0. So just sharing all that energy with everyone, because when I walked into the room, it was just like all the drummers was just pouring the love out. So I'm just pouring it out to everybody on this. In fact, Mama Amimbola was there as well. She was there through the screen. But my question is, I am a doulos, right? So as the doula for women, I'm a doulo for men. And my question is, as you have integrated this into your practice as a doula, I'm very interested to talk with you. And certainly, I know we don't have much time today, but just maybe you can just speak briefly to how would me as a doulo use this with the male clients, the expecting fathers that I work with.
Okay, and I'm gonna the brain spotting modality. The same way that you would with any modality, they can go in with being first-time fathers, how they feel about that. You can brain spot that. You can brain spot what usually happens in that space. And I'm thinking about birth and not a death doula, because I am a birth and a death doula. So I'm going to go into the birth area right now. You could also transition into the death doula or doulo part. Just the not being included into that sacred space. Because when a baby's coming is usually, let's put all the focus on mom and how are you doing? And then dad or partner is off here on the side, looking and wondering what's going on, and some feelings can come up, any trauma feelings about the father-son relationship that the male might have, and in becoming a father or another parent, or being a parent again, another child may be wanted or not wanted, right? Those feelings might come up. They can be brain spotted. Any confrontations that they might have where the partner would say, you're my husband, or you're the man, you were supposed to defend me and you didn't. Or if a child dies, and it's like, that natural instinct of a man to protect, to nurture his father, his family in that way. And now you weren't able to protect your partner, because something happened to her that made her not feel safe in that space, or there was a death of both and or mother and child. Now where's dad or the father or the husband left in that space? Or for men that are left to raise their children or to take more of that responsibility. I mean, there's so much that you can brain spot when it comes to that. And I commend you for the work that you do, because we don't speak about the masculine energy or the males, the men in that space. And on the flip side, when it comes to death work, as a death doula or a death doulo, what about the man's emotions? They tend to process a lot inwardly and in silence. And as we know, trauma happens in solitude most of the time and in silence, so that can be brain spotted too. Just there's so many things. I mean, we can continue further. Please take my contact information, shoot me a text. I would love to send resources your way. And maybe we can further the conversation, because I'm interested. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh, I see it. Do we have time, John Carlos? Should I keep going?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Teresa, please come off mute.
So how does a person take this course? Because I'm very much interested, what you call the word? Interested in the mind, because I feel like the mind is the path to everything to you. And if I could bring some healing, to myself as well as others, with this brain spotting, because like to me it just sounds like when you say brain spotting, it's like you have different spurts of stuff that's happening in your brain. And so sometimes you don't even understand what's happening with you because of the brain spurt. So I'm very much interested in that, because I know my mind is awesome, but I do know that I've had a lot of things that have happened to me that caused my brain possibly not to function as well as it could be. So I'm very much interested. Thank you so much. This has been an
Absolutely.
amazing conversation.
Thank you
Amazing,
so
amazing,
much.
amazing.
Thank you so much. Oh, thanks and praise to Source. I appreciate that. If you send me send me a text or an email, I would send you the resources for the trainings that are coming up for 2023. Once again, I'm not a trainer, but I have been trained by the first American Black female trainer in the world. Her name is Tracy Gantlett Monroy. So, and she is my mentor.
Go, girl.
Yes, she's changing. She's doing a lot of things, and I would love to forward her information to you. She's also having a trip coming up called Unbound Black Women. She says that the first trip that she's doing, a retreat, is a healing retreat in Cancun, Mexico. It's going to be happening in July. It's for us only. She has to come. She said she has to come out, first for us. And I would love to share that information, but please reach out. I just want to be mindful of the space that I'm in. And I would be more than happy to send those resources out and anything that you might need. I'm very big as being the brown person in the space. And I say that lovingly, that I'm aware and I acknowledge what has happened to our Black family members, our brothers and sisters, and the high maternal mortality rates, and just the limited access, if any, that we do not receive. And I say we because I include myself in that space for whenever I am identified as a Black person in space, but I fully know that I'm the Latina and I'm the brown sister in that space. So whatever it is that you might need that I can give access to, I'm here for it. I want this to spread far and wide because we need it. That's how we need the healing. And that's how we need to give and share the information. Just as though I've learned that messages were put into the cornrows and into our braids, I want to be able to give out the messages the same way, under, over, in between, just to spread it, because we all need to have it and we all need that healing. And I believe that 2023 is that time for us. So thank you so much. I get fired up because it's like something so near and dear to my heart. I want everyone to, not that we're not going to have trauma, we are, but just that it doesn't get registered into our bodies the way that it has, that it just keeps us in a place of being stuck, and that we cannot take, like now, I can say that now since we're coming up to our time, is now having this conversation that we have had. Now, when we think of the question, can you look at the past? And when you look at the past and you look back, right? We know that sometimes looking back is also for our safety. We need to know what's back there. But when you look back, now can you look back somewhat and say, is this keeping me stuck? And if it is, identify that and do work around that. Look back to the past and say, what has occurred there? I can bring some of that information forward and propel me to my greatest self. And that's what I would like to leave with you all today. And I hope that you all have a powerful, powerful day. And please reach out.
Yuvelca, I'd like to share from the Facebook chat. My computer keeps freezing, so I can't copy and paste.
Okay.
Venus said that she received from this message grace for her mother. And she said, I need to remember that my mom is responding to her own traumas and that she is having a human experience too, and that she's doing the best she can. I'm grateful for her. So I just wanted to share that. And some folks would like to get the information as well about the trainings and the
Yes.
retreat. So when you get that, you can either drop it in the Facebook chat or you can send it to me and I'll drop it there for them.
Yes, I'll send it to you because I have to retrieve. It's a lot of information. I want to send it all properly and clearly so everybody can get it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me in this space. I love being in community with the Wu family. My special offer had discussion about brace spotting. I was given permission and I'm able to give it at an accessible rate at $97 for the hour. It just offers access to healing, something a little bit different, but we can touch base on that for anyone that's interested in a brain spotting session. Once again, I'm not a trainer, so I cannot teach you and train you to bring this into your communities or into your profession, but I can give you the resource. And also there's a workbook that I had offered in part 1. This workbook is about 12 pages and I'm just asking for an exchange of $9. And what this workbook does is that it has CBT, CBT questions in there to get you thinking about some of the things that might be coming up for you. And also it has 3 pages of a year in review, just questions, so that way you can positively look at some of the things that have happened in the past and bring it forward. And it's timely for a new year that we're coming into. So I appreciate that. My contact information, yes, I do give my phone number out because you can reach me a lot faster if you text me. 845-453-4643. My Instagram is still fresh, fairly new. It's at Grief Soul Work. And my email, it's my first name, Yuvelca@gmail.com, and my website is yuvelca.com. Thank you so much for allowing me to be in this space again with you all. Love offering and donations. You can Zelle the Wu family at soul leadership development at gmail.com. You can Cash App $ Spirit of a Woman. And the code for today's presentation is 731YM.
Okay, Yuvelca, I'll take over from here. And this is our monthly automated love offering and donation slide. And this link would be or have been shared in the chat. And you can click the link directly to share with us whatever your commitment is. And that could be $25. You click that link, it could be $50, $75, or $100. And we do appreciate your support. It helps us to continue to do this beautiful work and have amazing guest speakers like Yuvelca here with us this morning. So thank you so much in advance for your love offering and donation. And with other amazing, speaking of other amazing speakers and facilitators, we're bringing to you on Monday, December 5th, that's tomorrow. Our topic is Striving in Healthcare, and that will be facilitated by Dr. Stella Sapo. And on Tuesday, December 6th, is session Tools Are Us, our Toolbox Tuesdays, and that will be facilitated by Jamie Monet. So we invite you back with us Monday and Tuesdays. And for the newcomers, we welcome you. Welcome to our Wu Nation. Here, where we are a community, we come to learn, elevate, and ascend. All of these beautiful lessons and support that we offer here in Wu. So if you are new to this community, we ask that you leave us a note. To share a note, whether you're here in the Zoom space or you are joining us in Facebook, we ask you to just leave a little message and let us know that you are new so we can welcome you to this amazing and wonderful community of personal growth. And here's the schedule for the newbies. We're here 5 days a week, Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and Mondays and Wednesdays from 7 to 7:30. And we're always streaming live on Facebook. And if you like to participate with us live and never miss a live session, we ask that you text Woo Nation to get your Woo alerts. Text Woo Nation to the number 74121. Again, that's Woo Nation to the number 74121. And we ask for your support. We ask that you support us, not just here in Zoom, but also visit our swag store. We have new swag. And we ask that you support, check them out, check out the t-shirts, the sweatshirts, the journals, the new candles, and the leggings for the ladies. You can represent the Woo Nation while you are walking or working out in the streets or in the park or wherever you are. We ask that you share the vibe of Woo Nation with the world. And we want to thank you and remind you of several other ways that you can connect with us. You can register bit.ly/Wake Up Movement. You can join us on Facebook at bit.ly/Woo Community for our private page, or bit.ly/Woo Nation for our public page. And on Instagram, we are at Wake Up Everybody Virtual, and on YouTube, bit.ly/Woo on YouTube. Or you can email us directly, info.wakeupseries@gmail.com. That is our final slide in the deck. I'm going to stop share and introduce Yuvelca to her love shower. And family, come off mute, share your faces, and share your love for this wonderful and amazing session we
This
had.
was the wake up.
Thank you,
My
beloved. Thank
moment.
you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
This was
Thank
the wake
you.
Asante
moment.
sana,
This was beautiful.
Asante
Thank you, Matt.
sana,
This was so beautiful.
Asante
This was a wake
sana,
up moment.
Asante
Thank you.
This
sana.
was a
Yes,
wake up
I send you all love back.
moment.
Thank
Good
you,
work, everybody. And I just want to
Thank
say,
you,
let's move forward,
baby.
thank
everybody,
you,
and let's continue to
thank
Mwah.
you.
co-create.
Love,
Day.
peace and blessings.
Thank
Have
you.
a great week.
Sana.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
week.
Love
Looking
y'all.
forward to seeing you on
Thank
Monday.
you,
I
Peace and
thank
receive all the
blessings.
you.
love
Love
and I
y'all.
send you all love back. Thank
Peace and
And
you.
let's
blessings.
remember, we
Thank
have
y'all
the
so
power.
much. Yes, love y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.